So understanding seasonality in business is always key.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't
It's a good
necessarily
lesson.
mean that you don't step on the gas. Doesn't mean that at all. It just means that the purpose has to be really high for people to want to care to drop everything and still stay consistent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't care about holidays. I don't care about weekends. I don't care about any of that stuff. When you're on mission, you're on task, and you're on purpose, I just don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I can easily tell who's playing with it versus who's actually doing something about it.
Mm. That's a good way to identify, right? Somebody who's like seriously doing it. I mean, well, you're right. I mean, people do have seasons, but some people it's just always on and always going and always moving and always doing what they need to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that's the way it legitimately works. And it's like, how do I say this nicely? I can't say it nicely. If you want to be able to get stuff done in life, you have to go really deep into life to understand it so that you're able to focus and figure out what you need to do, figure out what you don't need to do. And that's how you start building consistency. Everybody wants to make all of this money and have fun and live the life of their dreams. And it's just like it requires work. I don't know where people are getting this myth that it's something else. It's not anything else. You turn a wrench and it works. And then
Hmm.
it doesn't matter if you have things that are automated. If they're wrong, then you're just being wrong loud. It's just not. I mean, it's really simple to me, but for some strange reason, the rest of the world doesn't get it. So I guess that's
Hmm.
why leaders lead, and it's a lot. Sometimes it can be lonely at the top. Like I said, I would love to
Yeah.
have this. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it can be lonely at the top because you're out here doing what you're supposed to do, and nobody else is like, "Where are they? Where did they go?" You know?
Yeah, and then people have nerve to get mad when things aren't, just like, oh my God. It's like, no, like, you can only be on. Look, I really don't care what people say or think. What I care about is what they do and how they're doing it. Because that to me is the ultimate measure as to how you're going to get results. And the craziest thing about results is you actually have to do it. And it's hard for you to even lead or manage if you haven't done it. So it still requires doing, and you don't have to do it every single day per se. It's just like oil. You don't want that oil pipeline to go down to zero. It's going to be hard to start it up. And then people wonder why they're roller coastering and they're not getting stuff done as they need to. It's because they don't understand what I'm saying. It's like you have to take accountability for your days. You have to let your teammates know what's going on. You have to have communication. It's like stuff that you would think is common sense, but it's not, which is the reasons why this world is working the way that it is.
Mhm.
Or maybe I'm crazy for thinking that way.
Mm-mm. No, I think that many people they just don't know the systems or what's really required to make things move, right? And they see people like us doing things. Now, how do you do that? How can you be all of these things? And it's not that I was all of these things all at once. They layered in over time. And once I got good at one thing, I was able to add another thing and then add another thing. But I'm still consistent with all those other things. Like I didn't quit doing the one thing so I could do the next thing. I just added a new thing. And some people just want everything all at once without doing any work. And that doesn't that doesn't work.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is too, like even for me, I'm kind of dark with the team right now because I'm working on our YouTube channel, and here's the current shot.
Yeah.
So it's still going. It's
Yeah.
still in its early stages, but you see it's going straight up. And that's the way we play this game is because I understand consistency. And you can tell from 0 to June wasn't doing much, it wasn't doing much, wasn't doing much, and all of a sudden, bam, I put a little effort in, and all of a sudden it just starts skyrocketing, right? And
Hmm.
that's proof pudding right there of what I'm talking about, but most people don't want to track their numbers. They're scared of numbers. It's like we have all these things that we're just scared of as grown adults, and it's just like, why? Why are you so scared to get out here and do it? And I know it's not easy. I'm not sitting here saying that it's easy, but the question is it worth it? You know?
Yeah, it's doable. And it's doable, when you say it's not easy, I think that the steps themselves, they're not necessarily hard. It's a matter of doing the step, and maybe it's just getting out of their own way for taking the next action step. So, I mean, even myself, right? Like all this time, I'm like, oh, I could do this with the real estate thing, and now it's finally coming forward where I took a few steps, and now I'm like, oh, now I can track the data. I can look at the numbers, because if you don't do anything, there's nothing to track. There's nothing to test. There's nothing to look at. There's nothing to see if you can do better or worse at, right? But once you start pushing something forward, now you can see, okay, is this message resonating? Does this image create attention? Are people engaging with me? And like you just showed with that graph from Lead Your Power, that's evidence that when you put the right message out or put the right image out, that it creates visibility, and through visibility we are able to convert clients you know into our systems, I think. So I was just looking at one of my posts too, for with my real estate page, and you know it I wasn't posting anything for a while. It was just, once or twice here and there. But now I'm seeing a really big spike in, from 0 to like 1,200 views, or 1,000 views on a post, which I think that's a big jump from 0, from 0
Yep.
to, and I don't have a lot of followers on that page, but it's getting pushed out. And I think that I don't think, I know, the more that I'm consistent with it, this will turn into that revenue stream that I've been looking for in real estate. So, I don't know, maybe today we were just meant to have this conversation, because I know we were supposed to talk about what Lead Your Power's been doing and how that visibility has changed dramatically in the last, you know, few months.
Yeah, I think the problem is, like whenever you're communicating, especially online, it's not about what we're doing it as much as what people want to hear. And that's the biggest problem that I'm seeing in the marketplace is unfortunately Guru Land has made it to where you have to have all of this drama up front and you have to have all of this mystery up front and it has to be intriguing and it has to be just so stimulating to the point where you're ready to just swipe a card, right? This is what we're really up against. And it's hard because I do know for a fact that like YouTube and all these other channels, they're in the business of making money. And it's like, well, if you want to make money, you talk about money. You talk about that's the reasons why health and wealth are like some of the highest converting areas on these channels is because that's what sells. So
Mhm,
you can have a whole bunch of experts on here and they're still broke experts because they don't understand what I just said. It's like
mhm,
we have to get to the point where society can stop cannibalizing itself with communication and actually understand that the only way that you can get stuff done is to just get stuff done. There is no excuse for the lack of information. We've got plenty of information out there. The problem is we don't have enough transformation. And a transformation requires you just really getting out here and doing stuff. And I think when we understand that you're going to have to do a little bit, see how that worked, do a little bit, see how that worked. Oh, that worked. Okay, listen, let me do more of that. But also
mhm,
track your numbers. Like accountability to me is practically zero, which is why people are struggling. Like in the Marine Corps, let me give you an example. Like even in the Marines, if you don't want to be held to that high standard, you just don't join the Marine Corps. You don't have to like what I'm saying, and that's just what it is. You do have other departments of the service. And again, they all have their different functions and they all have their different standards. And to me, one isn't better than the other. They just have a different way of moving to accomplish the mission. Same thing in the civilian world, but I think most of the civilians don't understand that from a civilian viewpoint, they don't know what they don't know. They just don't know. Like I mean, I can show you what page that's on. Let me do that real quick. So if I can, if not, then I won't. But if you anybody can Google Department of Energy Q clearance, and it seems like it's conspiracy theory stuff, and it's not. It's just like the way that the information is compartmentalized. If you're not at the confidential level, because I can't find it right now, but it's like if you're not at the confidential level, then you're off the grid. Like you don't even have high enough level information to pull out of what you're trying to do. That's why training's so important. That's why getting the right information is so important. Tayu's on the call right now too. So, she trained her butt off to get to where she's at, and she's one of the smartest people in her field on the planet. That just didn't happen overnight. She just didn't sit here and go, oh, well, let me just think about it. you know,
Mhm.
she had to turn wrenches to get there. Tayu, I got a question for you.
Sure.
How you doing?
Good, thanks. Not bad. Sorry I was a little late. I was locked out of my
Well,
own
let
house.
me
I left the keys next door.
shout out to Akon. You locked out. We're just having a real conversation right now, as far as why experts are are failing online and why people don't get results online and why don't people want to be led, quite frankly. It's like I wasn't trying to be a leader. It was not on my radar or my bingo card to be ahead of other people. I've always wanted to just help people where I'm at, right? But then people see you doing all of these crazy things, or you get news articles on you, and you get these crazy awards, and it's just like people go, well, who is this person? And then they want to know more about you, right? That's why when I look at like leadership and lead generation, that's why I've said that they're all together, is because as a leader, what are we doing? We're really shining our light bright enough so that people can see hope. And I think if we don't look at it from that viewpoint, sometimes what happens is we tend to give up. But we also have to be willing to let the information come in that we need so we can start the new pattern, change what's not working, and stop the old stuff. And I think if we just follow that simple formula, everybody gets what they want in life. But it's just like sometimes I was at a party this weekend. Perfect example. Whole bunch of leaders, like very well-known people who you would know all over the world, different industries. Some of them are strictly about charity, some of them are strictly about helping people, some are strictly about making money in their particular vertical, right? And even then that room was vetted. So the people already there were with a very well-known person, and then the person curated that room even further down to having an exclusive elite experience where the whole goal was for everybody to become friends. Like literally, like, hey, these are my friends for real. Like we all do real things. And how can we come together as a community to really help each other out? It's such a unique experience for me and Regina. She was just like, oh my God, like we've never had anything like this before where that intention was set. Not a networking party, not just something where you're paying money and then you're hoping that you're going to get something out of a seminar. It was legitimate. Let's come together. Hey, here's everybody who I know who's good people and they're highly capable. And if you don't make one or two friends coming out of this room for real, then shame on you. Never experienced that in my 50 plus years on this planet, right? So, but that also goes to show you how human communication is getting. There are some people who are innovating communication, right? So the other theme was let's put some humor in here. Let's put some jokes on the table. Like, let's look around here. And every time you see somebody you don't know, you pull out a joke as an icebreaker, right? These are cool things, right? Very innovative things. And we had one high level, I think she was a teacher or something like that. And she's just like, oh my God, I'm going to give this to all my students. Like, this is such a great idea, right? But it when you're relaxed in like communicating with people without all the walls, you do become more innovative and creative and you do make a lot of breakthroughs. But it took somebody with that idea as a leader and that vision to visualize what they wanted to have, and then they just reverse engineered it. And then guess what? Everybody was like, "Oh my God, like we've never seen anything like this before. When are we doing it again?" Now again, I also go to like a lot of other exclusive events too, but they're a little bit more snob It's like, oh my God, like who do you know and how much money and what's your net worth? It's just like, who cares? It's like, how are you helping people? So I don't want to go into too crazy of a rant, but tell you what we were talking about before you jumped on
You
was,
gotta, yeah.
yeah, it's just like why aren't people doing what they say that they want to do? So maybe you got some insight on your from your
Was that
vantage.
your question? Why are
Yeah.
people not doing what they say they're gonna do?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Do
That's
you
like
have
the
an answer
meaning of
for
life. Huh?
that? Do you have an answer for that?
Oh my God. I don't even know where to start. That's like asking me, Tehu, what's the meaning of life?
It's up there, huh?
Um, God, what? I mean, there's so many. Where do I even start? How do I even answer that question? Like, Jesus, I mean, there's so many things that get in the way of people doing what they say they're going to do, Fred. It's like ridiculous. And it's most of it is noise. I think at this stage, like the amount of noise and people generally feeling overwhelmed and feeling like they have, I don't know, 60 minutes and 1,000 things to do, and their inability to prioritize, their inefficiency, their lack of ability to focus, which seems to be most people's problem now, and a whole new generation coming through because of all the technology they've been exposed to, right? Attention span. But then also, I think there's, again, we go back to this, like my favorite topic, this self-sabotage and self-defeating mentality. People are really harboring that and at very high levels, as well as imposter syndrome, as well as, so when things start to like move for them, then they can't really handle it. They sabotage themselves. They're like, oh no, I don't deserve this. They have like very self-limiting beliefs they're holding on to that just don't serve them. So, for all of those reasons, as a start, plus more, why don't people say they're going to do what they do? Accountability is huge. I mean, like this is why when people are trying to make any kind of change in their life now, they have to have someone that holds them accountable because it is really hard to be able to do it on your own. Sometimes it's a motivation thing, sometimes it's a mindset thing, sometimes it's just a lack of understanding. You think you're doing something right, but unless someone came along and paid attention and observed your process, you didn't really know, actually, that's not the right way to do this. Also, something else I noticed too, there's a lot of like, I don't know if it's become like arrogance or closed off or people don't are not open to feedback because we're not in time right now. Everyone's overly sensitive and they get overly offended, and cancel culture is the biggest problem ever. So nobody learns to tolerate. No one can even tolerate a difference in opinion. So if you can't even tolerate a difference in opinion, how are you going to be open to feedback? And like and then someone's coming along taking a look and going, I think you have a problem here, and you're like, no, I don't think that's it. Well, it's like, well, are you the expert or are they the expert? Because and people are doing this, right? They're like getting consultants to come in to advise on their business, and they're finding probably problems or loopholes, something to think about. But instead of going like, oh, okay, I should probably take this on board and figure out how I'm going to do this, thanks for letting me know, it's like we move into this like, oh my God, I'm like super offended and I'm really upset, and like freeze, instead of like freeze, like a stress response. And you're like, how is this helpful, to you, So I don't
Yeah,
think it
I think,
helps.
yeah, no, I really think that all three of us were meant to be on this call today just for this reason, because it's like
Yeah.
it's imposter syndrome and self-sabotage are pretty much going to be the theme of our YouTube channel. So we're going to have some hella clips out of this one
Cool.
just because really through my research, and that's what I was showing Nimisha just before you came on, we're going to lead this channel in a way where it's never been led. So you're going to have plenty of clips on this one, I promise you, because if we only talk about two things for the rest of this whole time that we're really trying to change the world, it affects sales, it affects marketing, it affects leadership, it affects how you move, it affects how you run a team, it affects how you manage, it affects your health, it affects your wealth. What you just said just is so much. Yes, it's up there with what's the meaning of life question, right? But you have a very clinical, strategic, and technical view that the world
Mm,
legitimately is missing. And I
mm,
really want to push those key points and transform the milestones for people because they don't know what they don't know. And we are at a point in communication in human history where people want the real answers. They're tired of all of this clickbait and fakeness and
Yeah.
BS books, and then it's just like the same people on stage saying the exact same thing, and they say it's branding when it's in fact gaslighting. It's not. It's just like,
Branding.
and the thing about it is I've been really having to be careful with how I speak because it is so powerful that I have gotten like kicked off channels before. And I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. I love YouTube. They're very real. I've had a chance to just really go deeper into the whole thing. And that's why I was showing Nimisha before you came on, is just like we actually are starting to get some tremendous traction because people want these kinds of conversations. I mean, this is from the last couple of weeks. It's just going straight up.
Is this from new clips?
Yeah, this is from new clips.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, this is us. So, I mean, I'm showing people in real time because we are transparent. In order for us to get like this, it took us years to get here, right?
This
And
is on Signal Clarity, Fred?
yep, this is on Signal Clarity.
Cool.
So what I'll do is I'll start moving forward, actually even having the Google Drive to the clips so we all can have them because again, people
Yeah,
want this
please
message.
do.
We have to start distributing it now. The
We
the, the
do.
stats are there.
Yeah, the
So
stats are
all we did was
okay.
say one or two things. Now, the other thing too, as a pro tip, what doesn't work well on our channel is the actual AI stuff that I was clipping. It's starting to get a little traction, a little slower, but I had to test it against Instagram. I had to test it against Facebook. Facebook will convert really well still too, because people are going to come to our channel for marketing and advertising advice as well. So we have to talk about that stuff. But so what we're doing is we're not only pioneering how communication is actually being done now in 2026 and beyond, because you're looking at it from a clinician viewpoint. Namisha is looking at it from the high social viewpoint because she's always out there around literally around the world traveling. And I just happen to be the guy who's done both, but not at your level, Namisha, not at your level. Tell you, I'm somewhere in between, but I do have my high level military experience. So that's what's going to make this channel very unique is the fact that I think we do really have a solid triangle of like what's working in the marketplace. And as we're developing this channel out, the whole goal was to be transparent to say, hey, look, we started this several years ago from vision to victory. That's how this got started. Then we took the operating system from there. Then we built it out and developed it a little bit more into creators, right? A little bit more of an operating system people can use because that's what I'm using to get this channel booming the way that it is right now. I'm literally using creator's book, like straight up. And then from there, all of these conversations that we're having, and we're reviewing the conversations every week, and that's how we're starting to get visibility. So we're saving people time, energy, effort, and money just by listening to us. And it's like, hey, don't believe a word we say. And if you want us to help you out, that's fine. Teyhou has her lane. This is how much she charges. Namisha has her lane. This is how much she charges. I got my lane. This is how much we charge. And we want to do live events and also, on a little bit more behind the curtain kind of stuff. But this is the way that the game is played now. Either people are going to play this way or they're not, and I still coach people. And one of the gentlemen who I love to death, we had an amazing conversation yesterday. And you've heard me say this before. When most people walk into a room, are they looking at the whole room or are they saying, hey, I like those curtain rods? Sometimes we can get so technical to the point where we're looking at the curtain rods first, or, oh my God, look at the cracks in between the checkered floor. It's like, no, the whole effect that we want to create is the aesthetic of the room or whatever you want to have. Like, we have to be very intentional these days. But if people don't see it from these minimum three viewpoints that we have, I think they're going to struggle because there is a lot of data out there. We only talk about what works. Namisha, if you listen to everything she's talked about, the good, the bad, and the ugly. She's been super real about it. Same thing with UT, same thing with me. It's just like, hey, look, either you're going to do it this way or not. Either you're going to believe us or you're not. But as we're growing and we're getting more visible out here, one thing that you will understand is that we're super real. If you come to us with sales and marketing questions, we're going to help you out. I can't do the therapy stuff. We got to tell you for that. Like, and I don't want to. My whole goal is to continue to pioneer the tech. Like I said, I'm in some AI shootouts right now. That's why I'm doing the stuff that I'm doing. And it's just like I'm in a lot of these crazy rooms like that. But I'm sharing the information. I'm sharing the data. And that's what people want. It's like, hey, either you're going to do this or you're not at this point. What are your thoughts on that?
Nimisha, are you sharing this as well on your platforms, the clips and things? recently, or do you have them yet?
No, actually, I haven't been sharing them on my clips. I
Okay.
am about to rebrand one of my Instagrams, and I'm going to share them there. And
Okay.
then what I've been doing, so because I've been building out my real estate, I've had a lot of energy go into that right now, where I feel like that's now in a good spot. I do need to work on the website with you, Fred. So that's something that I do want to talk about offsite. But yeah, so with visibility, I'm seeing different things happening just on my real estate channel. And so now I have people asking me, "Oh, what are you doing? Oh, who's doing your stuff? Oh, da da da." Oh, and I'm like, "Uh-huh. Yeah. If you want to come and learn about that, here's where you can come and learn about that." And I think that we're ready to really craft this together as we know what it takes. We know what conversations you need to have. We know what work you have to do. We know, the back end systems. We know the front end systems. We know literally everything. So what I had a conversation with Linda the other day. So she's someone who's come on our channel before, and where she got stuck was, "Well, I don't understand why you're giving all this away for free. Like, what's the catch?" And I'm like, "There's no catch. We're here to help you. We're here to help you." Now, there are things where if you want more specific help, there's there's compensation that's involved with that. But just these conversations, like literally anybody could be here right now. I've invited so many people here, and today, none of the people that I've invited have shown up, right? So, and again, Fred and I were, before you got on, we're talking about seasons, how sometimes, we're in these seasons of summer and seasons of
Yeah.
people are going through some changes, or maybe they're just super busy for whatever reason. But what's also important is showing up when you need to show up, right? Like I don't get to just be Nimisha the dancer, Nimisha the power lifter, Nimisha the real estate agent without showing up to do that. So I think that the three of us have been really consistent in showing up, and that's important, for the messaging that's going out to the public, but also for how we can create something together, and we are our ecosystem. And I think that the more that we are here, like we've developed trust in each other, we've seen each other in person, we've been in each other's energy, and now we really should take that next step of, I would love to have an in-person experience with us three, and
That would be
and
great.
plan that out, and you know make it paid.
Cool.
People have to pay to come. Oh, you're mute again, Fred. Your thing stopped working.
Me and this microphone are going to have a fight. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It only happens when we have some very powerful stuff we're talking about, which is crazy. But it's
Cool.
like I can't be anything else but real. I've tried other guru stuff just to say, well, maybe it's just me, right? I've read all the books too. Me and Regina have invested over $1 million of our own money. We're never going to be not transparent about that. We've made our money back and then some. That's true. But we're also not here to give financial advice or dispense that we're going to guarantee anybody anything either. And this is the reasons why. Because I've also had clients who have paid me tens of thousands of dollars and they don't show up and I've refunded them. It's like, this is not a magic pill. Like, you have to really put in a certain type of work that's spiritual, quite frankly, because
Can I
when
just say something about the showing up thing that just
sure.
came to me, which I think is really relevant to what we're talking about? See, how people show up here, whether they attend, they come to our stuff, they don't, they come once in a while, they show up once in a blue moon, they don't, this is also how people show up in the real world. This is how they show up to their jobs. This is how they show up in their relationships. This is how they show up in parenting. This is how they show up through life. And this is why this it's not just us. This is how they are in life. It's not personal to us at all. It's this is how they go through life. They are not consistent. There is no accountability. Some weeks they're great. Some weeks they do nothing. Some weeks they are, and this is consistent in every aspect of their life. They're like this about their diets. They're like this about their exercise. They're like this about vacation. They're like that. This is just how humans are.
I guess that answers the original question, right? Why do people
Yeah.
not show up? It's in their nature.
This is
So
how they show, but this is like the same way you see, Misha, the same way you show up to our meetings, the same way you take that into every single thing you do. So you show up that way when you are at your competition. You, like you said, you show up that when you go to salsa. You have to show up when you're doing your, you have to show up and you take you take charge of that and you show up regularly and consistently where and when you're supposed to, as you've decided is right for you. No matter what's going on, no matter how you're feeling, most of the time you're there. And that's also probably how you show up in your life with your family, friends, all of that. And these things, like, people don't understand, like, this is like how people show up is also how they show up in other aspects of their life. So if you've got somebody that's really avoidant, like, those people who are really avoiding you, and just, this is also, guess what? This is also how they show up in their relationships. This is how they show up with their kids. This is how they show up at home. This is why they have had like 3 divorces. This is why they're not thriving in life. It's not that but I talk about this all the time. People are late, and most people have a real struggle to show up. And sometimes we all need the motivation. That goes without saying. Everyone does. We all have a little bit of like a self-sabotage sometimes. We all do. But at least you still fight through it, and you show up where you're needed because you don't want to let yourself down or other people down, and you care about what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I think just based on what you just said, we really formed the essence of what this channel is really about because you're nailing it. It's just like how you do anything is how you do everything. But it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that that's a death sentence. What that
No,
means
it's
is,
not.
yeah, once you become aware of what the problem really is, then you have a choice. You can go from more of a knowing problem into a doing problem, right? The other thing that I want to cover as well is that you have to be aware of awareness. Like you have to know where you're at in the game. You have to understand that there is a game. You have to understand that you do have a role in this picture. That's why like I hate chess, but I love chess, is because in the business world, there's a lot of analogies with chess. They always got the chessboard. Like if you look at the YouTube channel right now, you'll see chess pieces, right? But that's to me more symbolic of you can be the queen, you can be the king, you can be the rook, the bishop, the pawn, and but you still need to start somewhere and identify with something so that way you can get something done. It's just like stop, figure it out, get something that you really have a strong affinity or liking for, and just start moving in that direction because you have to become that person. When you look at every single person on this planet, there's usually, especially in the fitness industry, you got before and after, before and after. To me, anybody can do before and after. They kind of suck when it comes to the during part because you have before and after, not the during part. And we tend to talk about that a lot here because we're more transformational specialists. I watched Nimisha go from just barely lifting, I guess, silver weights. So, no, you actually got the decision that you were going to be powerlifting. And the next thing you know, you just power lift. I'm just like, that's gangster. And you're already dancing. But, just to watch her just it inspires me because I mean, look, I don't know if I'd be on a global stage, just kind of just there. No, it's a personal best. And you hear everybody, even the announcers are just going up, up, up. It's just like kind of cool, right? But I don't know if she saw that 4 years ago. I don't know if she saw that 3 years ago. I don't even know if she saw that last year. But at some point in time, we went from that idea to now not just doing it, but doing it on like the largest stage on the planet. Come on, man. What are we talking about right now? This time last year, I had just got finished speaking at the UN. That wasn't on my bingo card, you know? Same thing with you, Teyhou. I mean, you're really so good at what you do. You're like teaching the teachers and like, grading stuff and at one of the most prestigious schools on the planet. I mean, we're here for a reason, and to me that's the essence of why I don't want to be the only speaker talking on this channel is because we really do have some very talented, capable people, and we just need to invite them in, and either they're going to play, they're going to share, they're going to talk about their wins and their experiences, or they're not. And the thing about it is, all we have to do at this point in time, and we already talked about it, is we're just going to run ads. We're going to be able to just really get the right people around us and just help them because there are people out here who genuinely want help. But had I not stopped my life to just literally, like, even with my team, they're just like, "Are you okay? We haven't talked to you in a few weeks." I'm like, "Well, YouTube is a beast. Like, it's not easy to get viewership here as most people think it is.
Yeah.
Oh, let me just start a YouTube channel and just start." No, that's not the way it works. You have to do a lot of studying, a lot of research, and that's all I've been doing, and that's why the stats are starting to go up. But I love helping people at the technical level. I do, because I know that once I discovered that, my biggest fear when I was a kid was that I didn't want to be behind the curve. I didn't want to, I want to be behind the curve. I didn't want to be behind the curve. Before now, you got a phone now. Back in the day, you used to have the Casios where it was like 64 meg and used to hold like maybe a couple hundred names on there. And I was so innovative. I spent my couple $100 for it. Now
Remember the
that's
Palm Pilot that they had? They had the Palm Pilot and then the little, yeah, those things were, I mean, for the time, amazing, right?
yeah.
And now it's like you have literally a computer, a mega computer in your hand where you can do everything. You can talk to, like you say, 8 billion people on the earth. You can market, you can advertise, you can do everything. And you can talk to AI and AI helps you. And it's just crazy how, like, even for myself, I was a little resistant, right? I'm like, I don't know if I want to put my brain out there, but no, holy crap. Like the last month and a half that I've been really working with, just chat alone. I haven't gone into Claude or any of these other ones, but just chat alone. I'm like, man, where could I have been if I would have done this a year ago instead of just 2 months ago, right? Like, all of these things would have been faster. But again, that was my curve, right? And I think that when people see us, they're gonna this is one of their things. How did you do that? Well, you got out of your own way and you followed the system and you took the actions that were needed to become the version of yourself that you always wanted to be. And it's really that simple. Fred says this all the time. It's be, do, have. Who do you want to be? What are you going to do? And then you'll have it.
Yeah.
It's work. It's not easy. It is getting out of your own way in itself is sometimes a challenge, but it's possible. I think that if one person does it is proof that another person can do it. So I think that we are evidence here that it can be done. And if people are willing to do what they need to do, they can join us and they can follow the system and they will achieve the same, their goal, whatever their goal is, not our goal, but whatever their personal goal is, whatever their personal best is, they can do that. And I think that even just with powerlifting, like, yeah, I sometimes still get in my own head. I'm like, oh, I'm still not good enough. I'm not, number one, but I'm my number one. I'm the best version of myself that I've been for my entire life, right? And sometimes we just have to reset the way we think about things and realize, like, I've achieved my personal best for right now. That doesn't mean I can't be better. I can't be better. And I'm taking the steps that I need to take to be better. If I stop doing the steps, I won't be better, right? You can either grow or you can collapse and go back to ground zero. And it takes effort. It takes consistent effort.
That's
And
right.
Yeah, so and I really appreciate you saying that, because I again, I'm not the inventor of be do have, right? And then you also have another one out there where it's like thoughts lead to feelings, lead to actions, lead to results, right? That's the process of manifestation. That comes from the coaching world, the semi woo-woo world, everything else in between. And the
it
crazy
also
thing.
comes from the religious world, though. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Ike, but I've listened to him online for a while, or Reverend Ike, and I just purchased his book because I really like the way that he speaks. And he says be do have, like literally that's, and I don't know where this be do have came from, but you're right. There is, it's religious, it's spiritual, it's woo woo, but it's practical and it makes sense and it works. And I think that people, once you can consolidate those two things of what actually works and then the thoughts in your mind and how to make your mind work in your favor rather than against you, that's I think that's the trick is conditioning
Yeah.
your brain and your mind to stay in alignment with who you need to be.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but
I didn't mean
here's
to
what
cut
I
you
have to say about Dr. Ike, because I don't know him.
off.
So if he wants to give you money for endorsing him right now, that's
Sorry.
cool.
He's passed away.
Oh
He's not
no, no
alive
worries, no
anymore.
worries, no worries, no worries, no worries. And because again, there's I get because what I'm saying is that, like, to your point, there's so there it's to me a standard now, but the question is, who is it a standard with? Like, be to have is something that I heard forever. Thoughts lead to feelings, lead to actions, lead to results. I heard that back in 2009 in some of those other spiritual entrepreneur rooms, to your point. You follow me? So because y'all all know that I know gurus too. We can drop their names on this channel all day long, but they ain't paying me. And again, they act like they don't know me. So it's fine. I'll just keep moving with our team and our squad because that's how we play, right? But it's like, to your point though, why doesn't everybody else know it? That's my point. It's just like that is like if we all just said, okay, we all breathe air, right? We can all agree that we breathe air. Why is that such a weird thing to like, hey, did you know that you breathe air? That's how some of these formulas to me should be. They should be just as obvious as we just saying, hey, we breathe air. You follow me? So and that's why I'm glad that you're bringing up Dr. Ike and a few other people who are out there as well, because the reality of it is it's not new stuff. This is actually ancient knowledge, and that's why I'm glad you're bringing it up. And we actually have our two AI videos that we can link to the bottom that actually talk about ancient knowledge. I don't know much about Machiavelli. I don't know much about Carl Jung. I don't know much about all of these people. Fred Smith has always had his own operating system. Some of these other names that were getting dropped, I didn't hear until 2019 when I started getting off the road because I had my own ecosystem. I was already making billions of dollars for other people. I was already doing all of this stuff. So when you're in such a narrow lane doing that kind of work, I don't really care what's going on in the rest of the world. I'm still going to the Ritz Carlton. I'm still, it's bright. You found like I'm still doing all of this stuff that I need to do with my life. But it wasn't until like my wife got sick where I really had to expand my vision and open up. And that's when I unfortunately got in. And I say unfortunately, and I'm very serious about that. That's when I unfortunately got into the guru lane because I sounded like these guys. But the difference is I actually did something. Like I actually know what I'm doing. Like it's actually in writing and it's still making billions of dollars annually for these companies kind of stuff. I don't think anybody, it's very few people who have that kind of track record, and also coming from the military lane, because that's where I learned a lot of this stuff from. But I also turn wrenches. So my fear of not wanting to be left behind the curve caused me to do all this crazy stuff. And now everybody has access to technology. So how do we all win? That's my point. How do we all use the technology to our advantage? Because I had another gentleman ask me yesterday, well, which AI systems do you use? I'm like, all of them. They all have their own sweet spot. They all have their own biases. But I made the decision to learn them. I made the decision to study them. And if that's not what you want to do, then you pay an expert for that and they should be able to help you out. Like it's to me that simple. It shouldn't be all these like I see so many gurus now just sliding into everybody's lane because what they've realized is that they're strong marketers. It doesn't necessarily mean that they know what they're doing because some of these guys are still building as they're learning that industry or they're learning that process. What we're doing is so pioneering for everybody on the planet in 2026. And I called it when we had the pandemic. I was like, look, everything's broken. I don't care who you are or how good you are. Like we all at one point in time started speaking to each other, and everybody's like, "Well, you do that, I do this. Well, you do that, I do this." And now that the noise is back because technology has increased the noise through AI and all this other stuff, right? Now we're back to square one again, where we're like, excuse the language, where we're just stupid. It's just like, well, what do you do? And blah 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 blah. Correct me if I'm wrong, Teyhou, or am I just,
No, no, no. You're on track.
yeah, because it's just like, and the only reason I know all of this stuff is because I'm still in rooms where people are trying to create a standard, like answer engine optimization. People call it AI search. It's like, no, the people who actually pioneered and want to call it answer engine optimization for a reason. It's very technical, it's very precise, it's very paint by numbers. Lead generation shouldn't be so mysterious these days. Client acquisition shouldn't be so mysterious these days. But what still stays a mystery is what's going on in your mind. That's the part that most people need to start thinking about and figuring out. We can have all of this beautiful technology in the world, but if I don't know how to drive a car, it will suck. It's just like we can have these best e-bikes in the world, but if I don't know how to drive one, I'm going to crash. I know how to drive a regular bike, but I can't drive an e-bike. You follow me? It's just like they're almost cousins, but it's these little
I don't
subtle
even
things.
know what an e-bike is, so you just taught me something new. What's that? Is that like a motorized bike?
Yeah, e-bikes are motorized bikes, and they're so rampant in California that they're actually probably going to start putting license plates on them and charging DMV fees. Like,
Oh,
these are bikes on steroids. They're a little thicker.
Cool.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, especially in Orange County, it's just like you see kids with like these like bikes that go 20 miles an hour, like they're
Oh,
they're motorized. It's
cool.
crazy, but You see, that's what I'm saying. So you didn't even know that, and we're in the
Yeah.
same country. You follow me? We're
Yeah.
2,500 miles away from each other.
Yeah.
But this is the speed of knowledge, and this is also the speed of becoming aware of things. So that's the other reasons why. I mean, look, I don't like everything about California, but one thing I do like is that it's pretty innovative. And it's one of those things where it's been very ahead of the curve. And that was one of the reasons when I moved from the East Coast, I was just like, well, let me go to California. People are like, why? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, because they're about a year ahead of the curve. And
Yeah,
that was
they are.
true when I was in the automotive industry. But now it's getting to the point where technology is the great equalizer around the planet. And it still doesn't matter how smart you are. If you aren't getting the result, why aren't you getting the result? Period. Like, and that's the reasons why we have the integration map. It's like, what area is currently not working for you? Here, 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 here. Okay, grade this. Like, put in some work. It doesn't take a lot, but the key is just to get organized with your thoughts and everything.
Mm. That's really important too, right? Is when we have scattered thoughts, it's hard to figure out what the next step is because you're just all over the place. But once you kind of put, like, I've started putting different projects inside of buckets, and then I'm organizing my buckets, and I feel my energy has kind of calmed down. And I know that the more that I stay in this organized state, like, it's I feel like I'm on a good path now. I think it took me a little while to get here, but now I'm like, no, this makes sense. I understand. And now I really believe I can help other people. I think that also, just that belief, right? Before, even though I knew a lot of stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, I know all this stuff, but I didn't believe that I could show it to someone else in a way that made sense to them. And now I'm like, no, I can. And if I can't, or if I don't, if I'm not the expert in that, now I'm like, okay, I know when I'm with Fred, this is the path that we are, combining our brain share, and we are experts in that, and we can move someone forward to that. Or, with Teo, I know, like, with anything psychology or energy or healing, like, those are things that I know we can create a really cool system for. So I think that the three of us, you're right, Fred, we do have our each unique qualities that by bringing it together, um, this is, I'm very excited.
I am too. And again, Tayo, I definitely want you to weigh on this because your mind is so genius. Like what I love about Tayo, she's like the spirit animal of the group. She's just very passionate, and when she says it, you can just feel it because you do want to really help people. We've had some deep conversations, and that's what I want to surround myself with. I want to surround myself with people who really want to help people out for real. And we all just eat, like we all get paid.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong with that, but again, we have to get organized. And it wasn't my fault that 2020 happened, but it will be my fault if I don't understand what needs to happen next. I have to take responsibility for that part, because as leaders, that's what we're doing. Like, Tayu, you have your own base, and Nimisha, you have your own base, I have my own base, and together what we're working to do is to just really sort through the people who really care enough to really help other people out. Because again, like, even when I was in the automotive industry, I didn't realize, like, at that time, when I'm talking to a dealer, they already got more money. They got everything that they want. But what they didn't have was that peace of mind. So when I walk in the door, it's just like, oh yeah, Fred, come on, let's go eat, or let's go play golf, or let's go do this. And they just tell me like what was going on in all areas of their life, because it does affect the hundreds of people that they may have, at the dealership. And if they can say or move one wrong way, it's going to affect morale, it's going to affect performance. And that's really when I stopped finally in my life to say, well, what am I really good at? Because I don't want to do everything. I don't have time to do everything. I just want to walk this earth like I did before, and just like travel and just, put cool stuff on Instagram. I'm not trying to sell or impress anybody. It's just like, look, man, if I can come from the hood and do this, anybody can do that. And that's kind of like my mantra. It's just like, if I came out of a combat situation out in the Gulf, and I survived that, then anybody can do this, right? That's kind of like my moniker, but I didn't realize how powerful it was because I was in it. And that's what I want people to understand about this channel. I want people to understand that we want to bring out the greatness in them. We want to bring out their talent. We want them to really legitimately lead their power. This is not like a catchphrase. Like we have all gone through our stuff to get to where we're at. And that's one of the questions I asked both of y'all. I was like, well, why are y'all spending so many life units doing what you do? Like, we're spending quality time. Teo's expanding right now rapidly, right? And these are the kind of things that we need to highlight and showcase, like, why is it expanding so fast? Like, what is she saying you're doing that's so different? And, how can I help out? Like, you follow me? Like, these are the kind of things that we want to highlight and showcase. Same thing with you, Nimisha. Oh my God, she has this team and she's all of a sudden doing all this stuff. And how is that possible? Well, if they can do it, I can do it too. And if you hear all of these gurus, that's what they're selling, but they're not quite explaining. And this is what we want to do on this channel. Y'all in agreement with that or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
explaining is what I've always done. So to me, that's like drinking water. I've always done that. It's the other, it's the front line and the marketing stuff that I struggled with, which I'm now kind of getting my hair around. But the explaining and the actual real help, that's the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Is has not been is not hard for me. But everyone, that's what I mean. Everyone's got strengths, everyone's got weaknesses. So if we can just get honest about what is it that I can do and what is it that I need support with, and then you balance that out, or you outsource it, or you learn, or you just, but I think so, what gets in the way is just honesty, like honesty with self. Like, no, we're not supposed to be able to do everything to a perfectionist standard. That's unrealistic. But there are things that you are really good at, and you need to harness them and understand that and go, okay, amazing. Let me, how can I use this to, like progress myself, right? But then there's going to be real areas of weakness, and we just have to be honest about what the weaknesses are, like, and then you get people to assist you with that. And then that's how you really build a great team.
Yeah. I
Really.
do want to add something because you said something that I don't think people realize because you just said it. You said that you were good on the back end, but you're wrapping your mind around the front end part of it, right? As far as marketing
Mm.
and
The
advertising goes.
illusion part of it, yeah.
So from a high level, because I think this will be a good takeaway for everybody, then we'll do some quick Q&A, like, because I was going to talk a little bit of business, but in the car business, you have torque and horsepower. Okay. Torque is what makes things traction. Like Carol
Mm.
Shelby says, torque wins races.
Okay.
Horsepower is, top line of the engine, like how fast you're going, all the other stuff that creates this the speed and all the other stuff, right? But you need both. You need torque first and then acceleration. But sometimes in our world as high performers, we go straight to the acceleration and forget that there was torque there. Like as an example, if you're an employee, right, you already have torque. Somebody started the business. They already got through the slings and arrows to get something that's working right now so that they can employ you, right? And then they just pay you a wage, whether it's salary or commission or both. And then you just keep performing those functions to make that engine go, right? But then you have entrepreneurs who are coming from the employee mindset and they're not realizing that you've got to put traction in. That's what I mean by turning a wrench. Like you actively have to get your engine started. And to make that mindset shift to see both sides, people are usually either or, and they're rarely both. And this is how all the confusion in the marketplace is established because the people who can think with both sides and they understand all of this stuff, they go, oh, well, I can just sell this widget over here. I can just sell this widget over here because they can see both lanes. Like I can see both lanes. So I know where somebody's at in their journey to successfully get them through the transformation process. So, like, as an example, for me, even beyond marketing and advertising, is simply communication and understanding how to communicate, understanding the mechanics of communication, understand why you should communicate a certain way. When you really understand communication to like full conceptual understanding, then you'll start seeing where you need to put your words. But that's another technical conversation. Do I put them on YouTube? Do I put them on Instagram? Do I put them on Facebook? Do I put them on TikTok? I can be really aggressive over here, but I have to be like a feather over here. You follow me? Like that requires studying regardless of what your stuff is. And that's where I live. I live right there to see, okay, where should your next word get placed? What should that next step be? And that's really but it requires a box. It requires focus, like Nimisha talked about. I have to be right here and I have to put things in buckets so that I can see what's going on. And that to me is part of the organizing process. I know we said a lot of dense red meat here. Anything else we want to say or add before we roll up?
I think we're on to something really good, but I've always known that. But I think now it's
Yeah.
picking up traction.
Yeah. Well, that's the
But it's
thing too.
nice
And
to see the
anytime,
numbers behind what we believe in.
well, yeah, and that's the thing about
That's
it.
really nice to see that.
Yeah, it really, and thank you, because thank you for your patience and thank you for your trust, because now again, none of us asked for the world to be broken over the last few years, but it's starting to get a lot more stabilized now. And if we don't really own our parts of the foundation,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to grow and expand. So that's my challenge to everybody who's even watching this, is to just really figure out what your role is in this new picture, because it is a new picture. And I'm seeing very inspirational things that I never saw before when I got off the road, that people are now coming together collectively to say, hey, we really want to do something positive for this world. Like, of course, you can always see the negative.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people, especially Gen Z, where they're just like, look, we got to fix this. Like, this is our generation.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, they're talking about that doctor's frame. They're all
Mhm.
about like, this is it right here. And that's it.
Yeah.
If not,
So
then
many
that's
things
not
are
my lane.
broken.
Go see this person. And, and,
Yeah.
and I tend to attract and align to that. So if there's nothing else, then we'll chat
Right,
soon.
start sharing some of the stuff, and I'm happy to distribute as always. So start doing that.
Awesome. 100%. Well, I'll get this process and out, and we will have it on the channel soon. Much love, y'all.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. Take it easy.